Hey everybody, welcome to Homies and Houses. Today we're going to be doing a little catch up, and then we are going to get into some questions that we got from Instagram. Alana, do you want to update us on your flip and how that's going?
Yeah, it's going good. It's been kind of tough to get there as much as we want to and stuff with Sean's work schedule. I don't know if I've ever mentioned this. He works on power lines and he works probably 10 to 12 hours a day. And then they also like him to work like a lot of Fridays, Saturdays. So that's been kind of tough. And then this weekend, we went down to Missouri to buy a car that he wanted. And so I was like kind of stressed out. Like, we finally have a weekend to work on the car or work on the house, and we're not. But my youth group from church, they are going on a missions trip in June. And so they've come a couple times to do a whole bunch of work for us. The landscaping on this place, like the yard was horrible. It was a rental, and the tenants, there was probably like 500 literally or more cigarette butts like in the front yard and just a bunch of junk, a lot of like dirt patches, just a really, really rough landscaping. And that's a really big value add for this is the first thing someone sees when they come to like look at a house for when we
Yeah.
put on the market, right? And so my youth group came and surprised, well, I knew they were coming, but like I didn't know what they were going to do to the place, and they did landscaping. It's like all mulched outside, like new pavers. It just looks so good. They also there's like a shed, a pretty nice big shed and a doghouse, and they even put like pavers and mulch around that. And now I just cannot wait. We're getting the house exterior siding like fixed in some places and painted professionally because this just needs to be done. And now I'm like, I can't wait till that gets done so I can see the whole picture. But
That's
yeah,
awesome.
otherwise it's going good. Still hope to have it on the market by June 1st. What is up with you? What's new with you?
I have tenants.
Yay!
Took a little bit longer than I was hoping, and it's a little bit frustrating of a process, just not being able to have as much impact as I wanted, but yeah, the past month I've been on Facebook. Just every time someone in the Northwest Arkansas group like says looking for housing or whatever, hey, I have a duplex, and then reached out to my realtor because she's kind of one of my friends as well, just seeing if she knew anybody, and then we got an application. I don't know where the application came from or who it was, if it was um, someone that like I had been in contact with, or if it was just someone that looked on Zillow, but um, nevertheless, there's gonna be a tenant moving in May 18th.
Oh my gosh, that's so soon. That's
Yeah, yeah,
exciting.
which
So
will be
what's
good.
it going to be like for, are you going to be cash flowing right away on it then, or
I'll
will
be
it
breaking even.
take a little bit? That's awesome. Breaking
Yeah.
even is still great.
Yeah, yeah, I'll be happy. I'm happy with that. So yeah, super exciting. And then waiting for to see if my other tenant wants to renew. So we'll see about that. Otherwise,
I
it's gonna
hope
be
so.
another really exciting few months with trying to find other tenants for the other side. But hopefully, because it's the summer and everything, the market's moving a little bit more, and we won't have as big of an issue with that. So
Could you imagine if one side filled after a few months and then the other one's empty?
I know. No, I that would be it would be
Better than
fine.
both being empty, but
Yes. Yes.
um, hopefully, it seems like you guys have a good relationship, so hopefully they love the place and want to
Yeah.
stay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it'll be good.
cool.
But anyway, now we will get into some of the questions that Instagram, or our Instagram followers provided.
Yeah.
Um, to get us started, the first question is best way to start investing in real estate if you have small capital. Do you want to go ahead
Yeah.
and
Yeah, this one is when this came through, it was a little tough for me because the first thing that comes to our mind is like seller financing. And we did have Jen and Joe Delafave on one time with the Creative Finance Playbook talking about strategies for seller financing and all that good stuff. You'll have to go back and listen to that episode if you haven't. But I've never done seller financing. Super open to it, just have never done it. So it's a little bit tougher for me to speak on that. And so what really came to my mind is like hustle. I guess multiple streams of income is really important. And so I think people underestimate how much you can make by having just a side gig, even if you only do it a couple days a week. So I've shared before, like with bartending, I decided one time I'm going to save every dollar I make and put it in literally a physical safe. And I did not spend a single dollar. And in 4 months, I had 10,000. Use it to buy 5,000 of that to buy a camper. Flip the camper like very quickly, and then I had a down payment for another house. And so for me, I think it's like if you're starting really small, what can you do for more income quickly? And serving for me is always a good option for that. What about you?
Yeah, I agree with that. I have also never done seller financing. I did when I was looking for my first rental. I did reach out to a couple people on Zillow, a couple of the realtors being like, "Would this owner be interested in seller financing?" Because it was a little bit above my price range, but you could get more in rent and all these things for it, so it made a little bit more sense. But I didn't have the like cash to put down. But yeah, I've never done that. I also agree with you. With hustle, I lean more towards like the dog sitting, babysitting kind of route. And then there was one time where on Facebook, like someone in the community posted like, "Hey, moving into a new house, looking for someone to like help me bring stuff in from the moving van." And I was like, "Yep, I'm down." And
I'll do it.
yeah. And I showed up and he was like, "Well, I wasn't really expecting any women to come." And I was like, "Okay." And then we like moved all the stuff in and he was like, well, also originally was only going to pay 75, but you were a really hard worker, so here's $200." And we were there for like an hour and 20 minutes or something.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was pretty
Not
cool.
even $100. Not even like a little
I
extra,
know,
like a
yeah.
whole 125
Yeah.
more. That's awesome.
Well, also, I think because like of the way we interacted, like it was just like a nice interaction. We like got on really well and we're chatting about like life and things and he had two kids and I was like, "Well, if you ever need a babysitter, like I just market yourself in any way you can, honestly. And be open to helping and hustling and yeah, good things come from it." So, yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Um, but yeah, and I just again like I think and to your point about saving every dollar from bartending, I think it's a really good way to like, if you have your full-time job and all that income goes to like your expenses and all those things, it's fine. But if you have like a side hustle, try and put all the money from the side hustle into your savings
Yeah.
for an investment. Um,
Even like once a year, I get a bonus from work. And a lot of people I
yeah.
feel it would be like, ooh, I have this big bonus coming. I'm going to buy this enter
Yep.
depreciating asset, car, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
For me, I'm like, that's a down payment on a triplex. Like
Yep.
that's what I did with it this past year. And
Yeah.
so I think like looking for those, getting rid of depreciating assets or like limiting what you buy and using that extra money
Yeah.
for appreciating assets is
Yeah.
important.
Don't let
Okay.
lifestyle creep get to you with that big raise or bonus or anything.
Yeah.
And for anyone who doesn't know, lifestyle creep is like when you get a raise or a bonus, it like then you start spending that amount of money. Like you're like, "Oh, well now I can afford just a slightly nicer house."
Hmm.
Or just, I can go to Whole Foods now instead of Walmart or whatever it may be. But just because you get that raise, if you keep your lifestyle the same way, then lifestyle does creep doesn't come up and you don't feel like you're living paycheck to paycheck constantly, even when you do get those raises.
That's a good point,
Um,
and I've never heard that saying, actually, lifestyle creep, but it's so real.
really?
I don't know. I
Oh
don't
my
know how. It's
gosh.
probably in our circles. I've never heard it.
Maybe my Instagram feed just like is really trying to warn me not to let that affect me. But
Yeah. Yeah. Um, self-manage versus property manage, pros and cons. Okay, so I self-manage everything right now. I'm not saying I'll never have a property manager, but when I got into real estate, a big thing was that I wanted to make more money. I wanted more cash flow. And so personally, I really don't want to spend that too soon on like a property manager. Otherwise, what's the point if I'm spending a lot of my cash flow to pay
yeah.
someone to manage it for me? And plus, I honestly really enjoy the everyday activities of being a landlord and like a owner. Like the other day, if it doesn't feel like work to me, I still have my W-2 job right now and everything, but like I had to go meet a contractor at the flip house, and then I had to pop over across the street because the thermostat wasn't working, and that stuff like isn't fun in and of itself. But all together, I think it's because like I'm working for myself.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoy it.
Yep.
Like I'm working
Yeah.
towards like an end goal instead of like working towards someone else's dream. I'm like working towards my own.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I legitimately really like self-managing so far, and of course it comes with its challenges. That would be nice to be like someone else just take this on for me, but right now like for the most part I love it. And you have a different experience with this. Like you've done both. So tell us about that.
I also loved self-managing, but I don't know, from kind of not in the area, like if you're not in the same area as the house that you're renting out, I feel like it's better to have someone property manage because you're not able to just drive by to see what's happening at the house or if something goes wrong in the middle of the night. Um, I had a pipe burst and I wasn't there. Like if that had happened and I didn't have a property manager, I would have had to like call friends or try to figure something out at 3 in the morning when my tenants called me. So I think that like having a property manager, if you're not going to be in the area, is really beneficial, even if it means that you do either like it causes you to break even or make less cash flow or whatever. Like it is beneficial. And also, they have a lot of resources as long as you find a good property manager. Like they have a lot of resources. Um, I think it also takes off some of the like legal issues that you might like experience being a property manager. Another thing that like was a little bit scary for me was when tenants move out, like how to handle the deposit and like how much can I actually charge them for of the damages and like I mean everything like you're either going to pay for someone to do that or it's going to take your own time. So you figure out what costs more for you and like how much your own time is worth versus how much it would cost to pay a property manager to do that stuff for you. But yeah, if I lived near my duplex, I would love to self-manage because again, like you said, it's awesome. It's a great feeling to like to fix issues, like I don't know, I was going to say to have issues, but not to have issues, but more to have issues that you can fix for yourself. Like it is your property, your business, like it is working towards your goals to fix those things to yeah, to impact the tenant's life for the better, to like be more on top of it. And then also like I was having issues finding tenants, but it was hard because it was like how much of that is on me and how much of that is on the property manager. But if you're self-managing, it's like this is my issue and I need to do
Yeah.
something about it.
What can
Like
I change? Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Like you can take initiative, and I think it's a little bit harder to find the line of where that is when you're an owner
Yeah.
and not a manager anymore.
Actually, yesterday, because like I said, we went to Missouri for the weekend, and I live in Minnesota, so it's
Yeah.
like a 9 hour drive. So
Wow.
we're about to drive back, and one of my tenants in the commercial space texted me, and he's like, "It's like 90 degrees in here," and this is at like 8 a.m.
Oh
So even
no.
though it's getting warmer here, like shouldn't ever be like 80, 90 degrees, whatever he said.
Mhm.
And I'm like, okay, well, check the thermostat in like the end. Like, there's two thermostats, so some of them don't know that. So it's like, check that one. He's like, that's off. He's like, they're both off. It's just like still running. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I'm like, okay, it's Saturday too, right? So I'm like, okay, like I'll call someone. And I hadn't quite yet. And like very shortly later, the downstairs apartment tenant who runs off the same heat, he said he like didn't even know the first guy texted me, and he's like, hey, I went upstairs and the thermostat was like blinking and like whatever, I changed the battery and it seems to be better now, but it was like 90 degrees in here. And I'm like, I changed that battery like 2 weeks ago, so it's a faulty thermostat, I think, because I'm just like, I've literally changed this battery 3 times in the past like 6 months. That's not normal.
Mhm.
But anyway, like I'm just like relating to, I was just like on a road trip and on my way back, and I was still just kind of like, I can't go there and check that.
Yeah.
And because usually I can just like pop in, or like I'm across the street at my flip and I can pop in and
Yeah.
like actually talk to them face to face, and like I
Yeah.
could check it and I could be like, oh, okay, this is faulty. So yeah, I kind of totally get what you're saying, that I just felt a little bit out of the loop because I
Yeah.
wasn't there.
Yeah.
So yeah. But yeah,
Yeah.
next question.
Picking remote markets, how much does weather, snow, natural disaster play a role? Um, it plays a role. I don't think it plays that big of a role. I think it kind of depends on your preferences and how much you want to deal with. But also like it will play a role in your expenses, like snow removal, or if you're in Florida, like making sure that your insurance covers your like hurricane damage, and also that's going to be a lot more expensive. I was born and
Mhm.
raised in Florida, and the second we moved out of Florida, it was like, oh my gosh, our insurance costs just plummeted,
Yeah.
because you don't have to worry about the insurance, or the chance of a hurricane. And in other places, there are other issues, but
Hmm.
um, what do you
Yeah.
think?
Um, I totally agree. I thought about a destination rental in Florida that my friend, she's an investor, and she had one in Sarasota.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought about like investing in it. The hurricane stuff kind of scared me, like the insurance, and just like not. I love visiting Florida, but I've never spent even like a full season there, like a full year. Um, so I'm still like for it, and I would like to pick a market that like I want to go visit too. So for me, that would be like your Florida,
Yeah.
never California, which will lead into the next question that we get, or like Colorado or somewhere that I also want to visit. So if I short term rent it, like Airbnb, I can also just like block it off when I want to go and have that
Yeah.
perk. But on the flip side of that, this sounds so dumb. This is probably just on me. I have a rental. I bought it in November. That's like an hour away, like 50 minutes to an hour. And I swear I'm not a bad landlord, guys, but I forget about it. Like straight up, just it's like out of sight, out of mind. And
Yeah.
so I don't know if this is like normal, but when we have a snowstorm here where I'm at, like one, I have four places here to be worried about to like snow removal, just making sure it's getting done. I like don't even know in my head if they got the same snowstorm, but I don't even. It's just so different to me because it's so far removed. Whereas
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I can go like help shovel or I can go do this here. Literally can't drive because it's too bad to get there. So then I had a tenant, oh my gosh, text me. He's like, hey, I shoveled everything. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I totally forgot to like call for snow removal. And so, like, my point is like me being vulnerable, like, wow, I've done that like twice to them is out of sight, out of mind kind of for me, where I would have to like be sure that like I know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Because like it could be nice and sunny up here in Minnesota, but there could be a hurricane brewing in Florida.
Yeah.
And, and so I think just making sure that like you are like that I would be able to commit to like knowing what's going on and or have people I can trust where I don't really have to know what's going on. I'm just own the bricks, whatever, and they're taking care of it. But
Yeah.
also like knowing people that you trust down there. Like you can meet people and they can say they'll take care of it. I've heard some horror stories of that happening with like the maintenance people that you didn't really know very well and now they're throwing parties at your house or whatever. And so I think having a support system in a place where you buy is important. But this question's more about weather, like and natural stuff. So yeah, just making sure you're aware of what's going on because apparently I struggle with that even an hour away. What
Um,
about you? Or you kind of already answered that.
yeah, I kind of already answered that. I think for me, it's just like a cost thing. Like, it might wear and tear the roof a little bit more. It might, your expenses might be a little bit higher depending on that, but I don't think it's the end of the world. I would just play that into your costs. And going like another question that we had, which kind of like branches off of this, is what factors you consider when choosing remote markets. Um, and we can kind of get into that, like branching off the last question.
Mhm.
Factors you could definitely think about whether that's something to think about. I don't think it's super important. Unless you live at like flood zones, that could be huge.
Mhm.
Hurricanes, just yeah, thinking about natural disasters. But otherwise, factors that I would consider if I was going to look into a remote market, opportunity, growth, um, like variety of people. You might find that it's a student, like student town. I lived in Gunnison for a year. It's mainly student run. So over the summer, there's not as many people there, and not as many, like you either rent for the year and then you go home for summer, or you spend the summer there, but like not a lot of people spend summer there. So that's something to think about. You're also probably going to have a little bit more wear and tear if you have students, because they don't take care of the property as well generally. Other factors are expensive, like expense of the house, but also expensive, like how expensive the rent is. Um, and like you said earlier, like building a team that you trust. So property manager, um, contractor, like that could be kind of tough to do from far away.
Yeah.
And I have a friend who has done this successfully a few times. So me and Alana were talking about bringing her on the podcast next time. But what other things do you think about when you're considering choosing a remote market if you
Yeah,
were to do that?
yeah, like what you said, the opportunity there, if there's like a college there, like you kind of mentioned, I always think about like you being from Bentonville and like the home of Walmart and
Yep.
everything like that. There's a lot of opportunity for growth there. Um, Even like, you know what is hard choosing a remote market is like not knowing the parts of town
Yeah.
because there can be like a great city, but there's good and bad parts in every city, you
Yeah.
know? And so it's like knowing, and I know you said you kind of like, I don't say research, but like kind of like checked out Bentonville before you decided where to buy. And if you're like buying completely remote, it could be hard to know that, like,
Mhm.
how crime will affect the area. You might buy something that you think is really nice and make a house to fix it up a little bit, but then no one wants to rent it because of the street it's on,
Yep.
you know? That kind of happened. My boyfriend's from about 4 hours away, lives here now, but I was looking on like Zillow at houses because I'm like, well, he still has friends and stuff there, and there's like this house, and I'm like, why isn't this selling? It's been sitting on the market for like 3 months, and like it seems like a good price, and it's really cute. Like they renovated it, and he's like, oh yeah, that street is not a good street. So I'm like, oh, so no one's buying it, you know? So you kind of got to know like where you're buying.
Yep.
Um,
And picking a local realtor could help with that. Um, at one point, like before I bought my duplex, I was thinking, or I looked into remote markets because Bentonville's kind of expensive to get into, and I was like, maybe I'll try and go somewhere for cash flow. So I reached out to a couple realtors in a couple different places, but one of the guys in Ohio, I think it might have been Cleveland, because that's like the house prices are low, but the rent prices are a little bit, they're whatever. Anyway, and he gave me a map of a lot of realtors will and investors will rate housing areas on like a A to F scale. And he gave me a map of like A, B, C, D, to kind of give me an idea of like what kind of areas I was looking in, so that if I wanted to look on Zillow, I could be like, oh, this house is really cute. Oh, it's in the D area, not where I want to buy, things like that. So I think talking to realtors, and then also if you wanted to go and visit the city or the market that you're like, there is real estate investment groups everywhere. So going to one of those and just being like, I'm looking at investing here. Like, what are the details? Like, what are the good areas? What are the bad areas? What should I be aware of? Kind of tenants, things like that, could be helpful. Or even
mhm.
just posting on the Bigger Pockets forums, I feel like could be helpful too. Just like anyone down for a Zoom where I like can just get an idea of what areas are the best areas in Savannah,
I think
Georgia, or whatever, wherever it may be.
Yeah, I think generally in real estate investing, what I found is that we're all very supportive of each other.
Hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
in general, we know how hard this can be and we don't want each other to fail. So even like another investor in like my area, I don't feel any competition. I have a mindset of abundance and like we want to help each other. And so yeah, like you said, those forums can be really, really helpful for people
Yeah.
local to those markets or having a contact there that you
Hmm.
trust. You eventually formulate a friendship with them,
Yep.
where they can maybe drive by and check on things if you have a bad feeling or you want them to, or just to have a presence there, I think is really important.
Yeah.
Anything else? Or I think we have landlord versus tenant friendly states.
I think we both agree on this one pretty heavily. But I would never invest in a tenant-friendly state just because I don't feel comfortable with it. I've heard horror stories about investing in tenant-friendly states as from the landlord side, and I can understand why they have those laws in place and things like that. But I just personally, as a landlord and as like, I feel like it's different when you have hundreds of or like a lot of doors, so it's a less risk if you have um you know, a really horrible situation. But as someone who has one door or two doors and not a huge amount of like background in real estate investing yet, uh, no, it's a no for me. I want to feel like safe and protected as a landlord and as a business owner, and I you hear stories about people like tenants not paying rent and then being able to just sit, like not being able to evict tenants for months and months and months, and them just living there for free, and then
Yeah.
doing damage to your property too, and not being able to charge them for it or yeah, any of that. So
Yeah, I would not probably have, not that it's the worst, not the worst that it could be, but Minnesota is more of a tenant friendly than a landlord friendly state. And I only invested here because this is where I am and I had planned to be for the foreseeable future. Um, so yeah, I have a friend who is an investor, and he had a situation where a tenant just wouldn't leave, just well stop paying rent, and then like wouldn't leave. And so my friend offered him like $1,000, like cash for keys as a concept. So like I will literally give you cash to like GTFO my property. And he said no, and then I think it was like 2000 he offered, and he said no. And it was also, I believe, the winter time, which in Minnesota or states like this makes it a lot harder to evict.
yeah,
And not that I would want to do this, but like you can't shut off heat or anything like that,
yeah,
obviously. But like also it's just, there's this, you can really get your hands tied as a landlord here, as well, where you're losing money but you can't do anything
yeah,
about it.
yeah,
And I think it finally got up to like $5,000, and I think the guy left my friend's place. But it didn't have to get that far, and it would not have gotten that far. I think it's like there's a couple states. I think one of them is like Texas, and a couple others where it's like 3 days notice and they have to be gone. Okay, here it's like depends on your lease, but like 30 days or whatever, which is
yeah,
also reasonable, I think,
yeah,
for someone who's been there to like move all their stuff out, and I get it.
yeah,
But there are definitely more landlord friendly states where that like the government is going to side with you.
yeah,
Like it's on your side, and
yeah.
that's really, really important. Um, so yeah, I would never invest in like California, New York. Thought about California just because it's beautiful, but I'm like, absolutely not. The squatters'
Yeah.
rights are insane there, and they know
Yeah.
it. That's the thing, is
Yeah.
like people that can afford it, they know that they have these like squatters' rights basically. Um, yeah, so we're on the same page with that for sure.
Yeah. And on to our next question. What's the ideal rent to price ratio you look for? So this one is kind of individual. I think the general rule of thumb, or like the best way to go about it, is to do there's a 1% rule, which is basically like 1% of the purchase price is your rent. So like if you are buying a $300,000 house, the rent should be $3,000. It's kind of hard to find that these days, depending on what market you're in. Um, so for me, it says as long as the rent is covering the bases, the mortgage, insurance, the taxes. Yeah, that's what I want.
Hmm.
And the
Yeah,
property
I
management in my
agree. I
case.
more go by that. Sorry, we had a delay.
Yeah,
I don't think I've ever actually calculated like 1% rule. But yeah, same thing. I'm just kind of like, okay, what's my mortgage, taxes, insurance, and all that going to be? And so I totally agree with you. And that's why I like multifamily too, is it's very easy to cash flow rather than break even. Breaking even is fine. I've done it.
yeah,
I'm kind of doing it where I live right now because I live with my boyfriend and my sister, and so I barely have any of the mortgage to pay, but like I do utilities and
yeah,
stuff, whatever.
yeah,
But in general, that's why I like multifamily. It's a lot easier to make sure you're like breaking even slash making a bigger profit. I know
Yeah.
people that aim for like $200 a door that have a bunch of single families, and to me, I'm like spoiled with multifamily. I make, more than that. But yeah, so I've never really calculated the 1% rule. I do think it's not a bad rule of thumb, especially for beginning if you have no idea where to start. But just know your local market, and what is feasible. What's
Yeah.
realistic. Yeah, you don't have to be lower than everyone, but you don't have to be higher than everyone. Just what's a
Yep.
fair price that's going to be good for the tenant and good for
Yeah.
you.
Well, that is all of our.
I think that was
Yeah.
it. Was that our last
Yep. That's
question?
all our last question. So thank you everybody for listening.
That was
Yeah.
awesome.
And have a great weekend.
Bye.